Hi, I'm Hannah Wallace and welcome to Finextra TV's Unplugged series. Kindly joining us on the call now is Alex Marsh, Senior Analytics Director for Klarna UK. Hi Alex, how are you?
Very well, Hannah. Yeah, up in London for the first time in a while, so enjoying, getting back to a bit of normality.
Yes, I'm looking forward to getting back myself. And I think it's safe to say there's been a fair amount of change we've had to adapt to, and change being the starting point for today's interview, actually, because I want to take a step back and look at the change in public spending, because as I'm sure you'll agree, we've seen some really interesting shifts in consumer behaviour as a result of the recent pandemic. I, for one, haven't got out to the shops yet and instead been doing my shopping online, maybe spending a little bit more than usual now, having saved a bit over the lockdown period. And I must admit, a lot of the time clicking pay later with Klarna at the checkout. So let's start there. What do you think has been the impact of the pandemic on public spending, and where have we seen a shift in the behaviour?
Yeah, I think great question. I would like one of the clear trends we've seen is a significant acceleration in trends that were already there. So that kind of shift to online, the move away from kind of bricks and mortar. And I think interestingly, the kind of forced change in behaviour from the lockdown actually has accelerated those trends to the point where from the data that we see on our consumer base, we've seen different products being purchased online that maybe traditionally weren't, but equally different age demographics coming through who maybe previously would have been more, typically would have shopped in store. So, a few stats from our side. We've just tipped over 8.5 million consumers for Klarna, so we have a very broad consumer base. But a few trends that we've seen specifically has been particularly, say, home and garden has been a massive area of growth in terms of spending, through our customer base. So we've seen a near 200% increase there in terms of, the transactions that we're supporting in that vertical. And I think, understandably, that's kind of consumers who have been spending more time in the home and are looking to kind of invest in whether it's a new sofa or artwork or, something for the garden. The other interesting trend from a kind of product perspective we've seen has been around sports and hobbies. Has been a particular area of investment. So again, people may be unable to go into their gym or spending more time at home or wanting to make the most of the time they do have to kind of exercise. So I'm a keen runner, so very pleased with the stat that we saw a 105% increase in running trainers, for example, being purchased using Klarna payment methods. So I think interest on the product side, and then on the age demographic, another lens that we've seen is back to that acceleration of trends. We originally really focused particularly on fashion with millennials, but actually what we've seen, for example, in June this year, is the fastest growing age demographic we saw was actually Gen X, so 40 to 54-year-olds. And actually, again, it aligns to the fact that they are homeowners, they're investing in their home, they're wanting to look after their health. So yeah, again, a shift in the kind of age demographic of the consumers we see. And I think that, they're trends that we already saw, but significant acceleration during lockdown.
It's incredibly interesting that you gaining all that information. I'd be interested to see sort of how you use it and how it gets fed out to the public.
Yeah, I mean, I think one of the areas where we use it, I suppose, is, we have very much been focusing on education in the market already about our product set and ensuring that people understand our products. And I think when you start to tap into different age demographics, typically the view is that we need to focus the education on younger consumers who are less used to financial products. But actually, where we've got that trend where consumer behaviour is shifting online, actually we're finding that we need to make sure we're educating, for example, that Gen X, where maybe they haven't utilised alternative payment methods, they're moving their shopping to online, and as part of that they're realising there are some of these other payment options available that they're interest free, fee free, so why wouldn't they choose the flexibility of those payment methods?
Sure. So I'm getting from you there that we've actually have seen an increase in sales, but shoppers at the same time might be facing some financial uncertainty further down the line, coming back to COVID-19. And I think in response, Klarna have been seen to be tightening its rules on lending. So could you tell us a bit more about that? How has your lending criteria changed due to COVID-19? But also, what would it take for it to go back to the way it was before?
Sure. So, it's a regulated bank, so we're a Swedish bank, and we're also regulated in the UK by the FCA. We obviously have responsibility is to make sure that we're offering our products and we're responsible in the way that we offer our products to our consumer base. And so at the heart of that, we want to make sure we're making the right decisions to support the merchants we partner with, but equally the consumers who are choosing to use Klarna. So yeah, we absolutely have tightened our criteria as we went into the lockdown period. Now, as part of our decisioning, a key input into that is looking at the macro trends that we're observing. So when you're seeing trends around, very sad trends around people being furloughed, the prospect of potential redundancy or financial strain, we absolutely need to build that into our models to make sure that we're only offering our products to consumers that we really believe can and will repay. So for us, that's been an absolute focus, is to make sure that we're tightening those policies appropriately, making the right decisions and really factoring that in. Particularly relevant when you have, within our product suite, we have products which are very short term, where payments in 30 days or spread over 3 payments. We also have products where we're offering consumers the opportunity to spread the cost over 12, 24, 36 months. And in those scenarios, we have to be mindful of the fact that consumer circumstances today could be very different in 12 months' time. So yeah, so that for us has been key to make sure we kind of build it. We do tighten our strategies, and I think again one of the benefits of the large consumer base that we've built is that we are able to feed in insights from that consumer base in terms of behaviours very quickly back into our decisioning, our eligibility decisioning, to be confident and really believe that we're making the right decisions. So it is difficult because we appreciate people are under financial strain, but equally we have a responsibility to make sure the products are offered to the right consumers.
Mm-hmm. But of course, even before the pandemic, there was plenty of discussion around this re-emerging buy now, pay later economy, even before the pandemic, whereby critics were calling on startups such as yourself, Stripe, WePay, Skrill, to take on the responsibility you're talking about and protect customers from falling into debt, notably maybe those in their 20s and 30s a bit more. What would be your response from Klarna to those critics? And could you highlight what steps are in place to protect people from getting into debt?
Yeah, sure. One thing we've been talking a lot about from Klarna's perspective is to make sure they understand, our business model. And there's, we talk about sort of buy now, pay later. It's a very broad church as a kind of a category of products within there. But if I talk briefly to our most popular products, our Pay Later 30-day product and our Pay in 3 product, they're both interest-free, they're fee-free products. We work with merchants, they'll pay us a small fee to enable their customers to have that payment flexibility. So from a business model perspective, we are not charging, the customer is unable to repay us. We're not charging any additional interest, they're not reverting to an interest product, and we're not charging any fees. So from our side, we have that plus, or I should say, if a consumer is unable to repay, we take that credit loss ourselves. So that's not a cost that the merchant would take. Mm-hmm. So from our side, from a business model perspective, we have absolutely no benefit in offering our products to a consumer that we believe is unable to repay us. So I think the real positive from that is our motives are absolutely aligned with the consumers who are choosing to use our products. We want to make sure that it's a product that they are able to repay. So I think that's really important to understand from a business model. That's not necessarily true across all providers of these products, but from our side, we do only benefit if the customer is able to repay us. So I think that gives us a very strong motive to make the right decisions up front, so to only offer to and have really robust decisioning, but also to make it very easy for consumers to repay us. And again, that's something that we focus a lot of effort on, in terms of consumers can settle their payments with us at any point in time. So it could be used our Pay Later product and you're able to pay in 30 days. But 2 days later, after choosing that payment method, you could choose to settle that payment. There'd be, again, no fee related to that. You could do it all yourself through the app. Mm-hmm. So again, we try and make it very easy for our consumer base to pay their balances. We send alerts and reminders, so texts and push notifications through the app. So again, I think that's really key. So I think first off, a business model from our side is crucial. I think the second part to it from our side, from Klarna's perspective, is we are the market leader in this category now, and we have a consumer base of over 8.5 million consumers. So we do feel a responsibility as the leader to educate and to support our customers, and we have a really strong track record of that. So last year we launched an initiative called Mindful Money, which is about how we could educate our consumer base. And this wasn't just purely on our product set; it was about some of the terms that maybe consumers aren't used fully understanding. So soft search versus hard searches. It could be about apps on their phone that could help them to save. It could be about purchasing a home or pensions. So we've built a whole suite of content there to support our consumer base. And then more recently, we've just launched a new initiative called Klarna Sense, which is really focused around making sure that consumers spend wisely. Mm-hmm. So even before they choose to use Klarna, really thinking about, do I love this item? Will I use it in my life?
Very, very helpful in my case.
Yeah, exactly. So just making sure that people take that kind of step back to really think, is this item, going to bring value to my life, and think wisely and just take that step back. So I think that, again, has been really important to us, that education. We feel that responsibility, and that's something that we're committed to. Mm-hmm.
Brilliant. Well, branching out, I may say a very good response there. But branching out, it'd be really interesting to hear a bit more about how Klarna has adapted both its merchant and consumer offerings in recent months.
Yeah, so I think from a consumer side, I think we've worked very hard to make sure that we're supporting any consumers who have, for example, gone into hardship as a consequence of COVID-19. So we've worked closely with the FCA, who've issued valuable guidance on that. Mm-hmm. And we've broadened that beyond just our kind of regulated, which is our longer term financing product, but also to our shorter term, unregulated products, to give payment holidays, to support on payment plans, to proactively communicate with consumers where their circumstances have changed. So I think from the consumer side, that's really been a big area of focus for us to make sure that they feel supported in those situations if they are now facing financial hardship. So that's been the real priority on the consumer side. And then on a merchant side, it's been very interesting trends in terms of the kind of inbound contact that we've had from merchants, and particularly merchants who maybe were looking at kind of digital roadmaps over 12 to 24 months, are suddenly wanting to do it in 3 months because they've realised the imperative to have a really strong online offering. And in order to achieve that, really looking at partners that they can work with that can help accelerate those trends. So it's been, we saw a big uptick as I think we saw a 20% uptick in March, second half of March, around inbound merchants coming to seek flexible payment methods. But yeah, like I say, a number of exciting upcoming launches of merchants where they really, they've realised that they need to have that, strong online presence.
All right, and I want to touch on open banking. What's Klarna's approach to open banking, and sort of where is it going, do you think, in the near future, and what can we expect to see from Klarna in this space?
I think, open banking is fascinating. I think it's starting to feel more real and tangible. I think obviously it's been talked about for a long period of time. From our side, particularly if I focus on the consumer side, I think the exciting aspect for us is the ability, subject to the consumer's consent, to bring more inputs into the decisioning. We want to just make sure that we can, support consumers, and we partner with credit reference agencies. We incorporate their tools, their soft search or their hard search, depending on our products, into our decisioning. But actually, open banking provides an opportunity where there could be other inputs that could help make those decisions. I think particularly interesting for certain consumer base aspects of the consumer base where maybe they haven't got such an extensive credit file, depending on the products they previously used or not. And actually, it should support, I believe, more inclusion, financial inclusion, in terms of access by the customer choosing to share their data to input into our decisions. So I think for us, that's something that we are definitely looking at. And as I said before, we just want to make sure that we only offer our products to consumers that we believe can or will repay us.
Sure. Well, I think it's safe to say some really interesting developments further down the line, and I hope to catch up with Klarna again later on to see where we are. But for now, Alex, thank you so much for the interview. It's been really insightful, and hope to speak to you again.
Thank you, Hannah. Thank you.